Blake Lively and the New York Times face backlash as Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Fredman, files a $250 million lawsuit, presenting text messages, voice memos, and videos allegedly exposing Blake's false claims. Ryan Reynolds is also under scrutiny.
Who are not in the Hollywood world, what is wrong with her taking over the film?
I've never seen it before in my 30-plus year career in Hollywood. And an executive producer is below a producer in the film world. An executive producer signed up to be an executive producer, and that's it. As the time progressed in this film, she decided that she wanted to be a producer. She started to make edits. She wanted to be part of the editing team. There were people hired, like human beings actually hired to do the editing job, who had done work as editors. She wanted to be part of that team. The next thing you know, she took over the editing. She started making threats that she wouldn't promote the movie, that she wanted to be in control of marketing of the movie, that she would do nothing in terms of promotion unless she was the actual editor.
On December 31, 2024, Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, his production company Wayfarer Studios, and the team behind Asterisk, It Ends With Us Asterisk. In the lawsuit, Blake claims Baldoni fostered a hostile work environment during filming, alleging intrusive, unwelcome, unprofessional, and sexually inappropriate behavior on set. She also accused him of orchestrating a social media smear campaign to tarnish her reputation. This follows the viral circulation of videos showing Blake being dismissive toward interviewers during the promotion of It Ends With Us.
This morning, actress Blake Lively making disturbing allegations against her It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldoni. Lively accusing Baldoni of sexual harassment, creating a hostile work environment on set, and then coordinating a smear campaign to ruin her reputation, according to an 80-page legal complaint.
She just broke into my building.
You have a really nice view.
I do.
While filming the movie about domestic violence, Lively says Baldoni repeatedly harassed her and crossed boundaries during intimate scenes. The complaint says Baldoni, fearing she would make her concerns public, hired a crisis management team to destroy her reputation. Text messages with the complaint appear to show PR execs discussing Baldoni's desire to see Lively buried. One writing, "You know we can bury anyone."
You have Justin Baldoni, who has really presented himself as kind of a feminist, who's talked negatively about toxic masculinity. And this lawsuit seems to fly in the face of that.
Attorneys for Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios deny the allegations, calling them categorically false and a desperate attempt by Lively to fix her negative reputation. Lively's complaint comes months after rumors of tension between the co-stars emerged. The pair did not pose for photos together during the film's premiere, and Lively faced a barrage of online backlash from those claiming her interviews about the movie were at odds with the serious subject matter. And some of that online scrutiny that was directed at Lively now turning toward Baldoni. Lively says she hopes her legal actions helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct and helps protect others who may be targeted. Willie?
Priscilla Thompson, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.
Blake Lively's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni made serious allegations, portraying him as engaging in sexual harassment. Following the filing, the New York Times published a report, allegedly in collaboration with Blake, that included hundreds of text messages suggesting Baldoni's misconduct. However, Justin has now filed a counter-lawsuit, with his lawyer presenting evidence to refute Blake's claims. The evidence reportedly includes video footage of Blake lying and text messages disproving her allegations. To complicate matters further, fans have uncovered instances suggesting Blake and her husband may have conspired to trap Baldoni, adding another layer to the controversy.
But after the article was published, Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, responded to the allegations in a statement that was published by the New York Times. And his statement reads in part, "It is shameful that Miss Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations against Mr. Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and its representatives as yet another desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation, which was garnered during her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film." And as for the role of the crisis manager, Friedman said, "Wayfarer Studios made the decision to proactively hire a crisis manager due to the multiple demands and threats made by Miss Lively during production, which included her threatening to not show up to set, threatening not to promote the film, ultimately leading to its demise during release if her demands were not met." And Friedman specifically addressed the New York Times reporting, saying, "What is pointedly missing from the cherry-picked correspondence is the evidence that there were no proactive measures taken with media or otherwise, just internal scenario planning and private correspondence to strategize, which is standard operating procedure with public relations professionals."
In her lawsuit, Blake Lively alleged that Justin Baldoni failed to hire an intimacy coordinator and made her uncomfortable, including entering her trailer unannounced while she was pumping breast milk. However, Baldoni has text messages from Blake indicating she invited him into her trailer and explicitly mentioned that she was pumping at the time.
I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
that.
this?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you know, romance is really important. You're supposed to, you know, tell a story well.
That Wayfarer agreed to provide an intimacy coordinator for safety. What Baldoni says, though, is that the New York Times, they failed to mention in their reporting that Lively didn't want to meet with the intimacy coordinator to plan out these scenes. According to the lawsuit, Baldoni, in turn, was forced to meet with the intimacy coordinator alone and relay any suggestions to Lively separately. As part of those creative discussions, Baldoni and Lively sought to personalize and develop their characters and, in doing so, engaged in conversation about their individual experiences. The Times, taking Lively's CRD complaint as true, characterizes this discussion as an inappropriate attempt by Baldoni to talk about his sex life. It was not. And there's a text message in the lawsuit which provides one specific instance where Lively appears to reject meeting with this intimacy coordinator ahead of time. Now, Baldoni is also making other serious accusations against Blake Lively, suggesting that she attempted to take control of the film in ways that expanded beyond her role as an actor, and this included trying to take over wardrobe, rewrite scenes, and even edit her own version of the film. Now, in the New York Times article, there is a mention made of a document that was sent to Baldoni on August 2nd from Melissa Nathan. And there's a talking point in there about Lively's alleged use of an imbalance of power to take control of the film. Now, the argument could be that this was apparently mentioned to suggest that Baldoni was looking to bury Lively, or as a way that he could bury her. And this is evidenced by the following lines in the reporting where Jennifer Abel is quoted as saying to Melissa Nathan, "He wants to feel like she can be buried," to which Melissa Nathan's response is quoted as, "Of course." What is not mentioned, according to Baldoni, is his side of the story in this. And his side of the story is that Blake Lively really did try to take control of the film. And even worse, that she weaponized her claims of his behavior against him. Claims, again, which he of course says are untrue. So one aspect of the film that Baldoni accuses Lively of trying to control is her character's wardrobe. Baldoni says in his suit that Lively went so far as to dress herself for scenes, going against the advice of the costume designer. He points to an instance where paparazzi photos of Lively and her costume choices that she selected were deemed unflattering by Sony. Baldoni says he tried to inform Lively of the studio's concerns, but she instead interpreted his comments, as being inappropriate. Baldoni says in his suit, Lively later leveraged this conversation in support of her allegations of harassment, alleging that Baldoni made inappropriate comments on her appearance. In reality, Baldoni was relaying the distributor's concerns and the widespread social media criticism regarding the wardrobe's failure to meet audience expectations, a sentiment that Baldoni shared. Baldoni also accuses Lively of trying to control the script.
Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Fredman has denied all claims made by Blake Lively, stating she is attempting to salvage her damaged reputation stemming from her behavior on set and during the film's promotion. Allegedly, Blake hadn't even read the book the movie is based on, which contributed to her discomfort during production. Fans have criticized her for filing false accusations, arguing that her actions harm real victims. Interestingly, Baldoni's countersuit includes text messages where he expresses concern for Blake and explicitly mentions avoiding the spread of fake stories. Despite this, Blake's allegations have sparked significant backlash, with many accusing her of using the lawsuit to distract from her own controversies.
The article's central thesis, encapsulated in a defamatory headline designed to immediately mislead the reader, is that plaintiffs orchestrated a retaliatory public relations campaign against Lively for speaking out about sexual harassment, a premise that is categorically false and easily disproven. If the Times truly reviewed the thousands of private communications it claimed to have obtained, its reporters would have seen incontrovertible evidence that it was Lively, not plaintiffs, who engaged in a calculated smear campaign. The complete communications demonstrate beyond question that plaintiffs had no intention of destroying or burying Lively through aggressive tactics. On the contrary, Baldoni consistently expressed his desire to avoid harming Lively and protect the film, but also recognized the legitimate need for public relations protection in light of Lively's false and damaging claims. Now, in the lawsuit, Mr. Baldoni fires back at some of the key allegations that are made against him, and we're going to take you through each one of these. Now, we mentioned earlier how critical these text messages are to this case. Well, right at the beginning of Baldoni's lawsuit are embedded messages that are dated from August 19th, where Baldoni appears to express concern about being painted to look like he was trying to take down Lively. Those texts read, "How can we say somehow that we are not doing any of this? It looks like we are trying to take her down." And another one reads, "Things I'm more worried about is that we are planning stories, which is not true, obviously." Now, one key exchange that Baldoni is refuting is one that appears in the New York Times article, is where Baldoni and his publicist seem to be discussing a Daily Mail article that speculated whether Lively's career might be in trouble. So that article from August 16th was titled in part, "Is Blake Lively Set to be Canceled?" Now, in the article from the New York Times, that text exchange is not embedded, it was just typed out. And right before that exchange, the Times wrote, "By mid-August, the team was reveling in the damage to Miss Lively's image." Now, the text exchange in the New York Times piece that it printed out simply reads, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece." This is what Miss Abel wrote to Miss Nathan. And Miss Nathan responded, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." But in Baldoni's lawsuit, he claims the context of this conversation was mischaracterized, that it was actually sarcastic in nature. Baldoni's lawsuit shows the apparent actual text exchange between these two women that appears to have occurred right before this exchange. And this is where Nathan seems to deny any connection to the article after first learning about it. The New York Times, though, they didn't print that exchange. The lawsuit says, specifically, in the immediately preceding text exchange on August 16th, Nathan forwarded a screenshot of a message from a reporter informing her for the first time of the Daily Mail article. In response, Nathan wrote, "Damn, this is not fair because it's also not me," followed by, "Everything now looks like it's me," conclusively refuting her involvement in the creation or dissemination of the article. And as for that exchange that the New York Times did print, the lawsuit accuses it of omitting a key detail. In fact, omitting a key emoji that, according to Baldoni's team, changes the whole meaning and context of this conversation. The lawsuit says, after Nathan forwarded a screenshot of the article link, Abel responded with, "You really outdid yourself with this piece. Upside down smiley face emoji," adding an upside down smiley face emoji to indicate the sarcastic nature of her message. The emoji is commonly used to convey irony, sarcasm, joking, or a sense of goofiness or silliness.
One fan commented, "The same Blake Lively who mocked Princess Catherine during her cancer journey now expects us to pity her?" The fan continued, expressing their disbelief, claiming to have witnessed Blake's true nature and showing little concern for the lawsuit. Brian Fredman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, criticized Asterisk, the New York Times Asterisk, for failing to conduct proper investigative journalism. He stated they never contacted Baldoni or his legal team to get their side of the story. Fredman emphasized that Baldoni is the true victim of a smear campaign and that Blake Lively is merely trying to repair her public image. He also accused the newspaper of including Photoshop screenshots in their report. In response, Justin is prepared to release the genuine text messages and even create a website displaying all the communication between him.
I mean, I think you have to show reckless disregard for the truth as a public figure, but I think it's easily shown. I mean, when do you see the New York Times, a publication that's supposed to be an investigative journalist, right? These are supposed to be investigative journalists. When do you see them at 9:47 at night send an email on a Friday night before a holiday, right before Christmas? They send the email and it warns them that we're coming out with a story that we're going to publish by 12 noon Eastern the next day. So you basically right there have 15 hours, 14 hours to respond to this. If you're not looking at your email at 9:47 at night Eastern time, you might even pass that up until the morning, right? There's a boatload of questions on there, but there's not the actual questions that matter. There's not really the questions about, this is the evidence we're using, these are the text messages we're relying on. They say that they've reviewed thousands of pages of text messages. Unbelievable. And if they did, they would have come across the text messages that had emojis removed, that skewed the meaning of various emails, other emails which were taken out of context, strings which were partial email strings and partial text strings, and completely mischaracterized what was happening in the case. And it's shocking, actually, that the New York Times wouldn't follow up and say, well, you know, we have text messages saying this, and we'd like to know, are they real? Do you have anything that shows that they're different? We live in a digital age. You can't trust everything that you see. Why couldn't the New York Times ask that question?
Are you saying that they got changed copies of the communications, or that they changed the communications to remove emojis? Are you blaming the New York Times for doing that?
I'm blaming the New York Times for participating with Blake Lively's publicists and engaging in this campaign where they actually were part of facilitating the complaint getting filed with the CRD, which is the Civil Rights Division, and knew the complaint was getting filed, encouraged them to file the complaint, had a copy of the complaint before it was filed, and once it was filed, they went with a story. And they completely relied on these text messages given to them.
Breaking news. They didn't have any more time available to give you. They gave you the most time they could. You chose not to respond. Is that a fair charge?
Not at all. We did respond. And we challenged, actually, the veracity of the story, and we challenged, actually, the veracity of the text messages, and specifically said that those messages were cherry-picked and used out of context. Was there a follow-up phone call? Was there, please tell us more? What do you mean by cherry-picked and taken out of context? There was no investigative journalism done whatsoever. It was a complete reckless disregard for the truth. And why was that, Chris? You know why that was. Because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are who they are. And that's why that was done. And the truth is that any publicist...
Tui's a big shot, though, Brian. Tui is not a hack. She's got a really solid reputation for doing this kind of work.
And you know what, Chris, I would have expected more from her. I would have expected her to actually want the truth, because that's what this is about. It's just about truth. And in that regard, Chris, what we're going to do is like no one's ever done in any kind of case. We're going to take what the young kids call receipts, and we're going to take those text messages and we're going to put them out for the public to see. And we're doing it as we speak, and we have been doing it. And what you're starting to see is you're starting to see a complete turnaround in this story. And you're starting to see a turnaround because people are questioning, is this truthful or not? When Blake Lively says she was sexually harassed because Justin Baldoni went into her trailer while she was breastfeeding, what she actually failed to talk about is the invitation that she sent in a text message and said, I'm pumping, come down to my trailer and we'll go over lines.
It's right there. It's in a text message. They reviewed 1,000 pages. Why didn't they find that one?
Although Ryan Reynolds hasn't been named in the lawsuit against Blake Lively and the New York Times, fans have pointed out that he mocked Justin Baldoni in his Deadpool and Wolverine films. Fredman claims that Reynolds' portrayal of Nice Pool was a veiled reference to Baldoni.
Morning. Well, Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, tells me they're not done taking legal action following their lawsuit against the New York Times, adding that he plans to release even more text messages between the co-stars. Friedman insists the truth is in those documents and that Blake Lively is the one who used her power and influence to take control of the film. Lively's team, though, they're saying they're going to defend her accusations in court.
For the first time, the lawyer for Justin Baldoni is speaking out, saying the actor's libel suit against the New York Times will not be the last lawsuit in his client's legal battle with co-star Blake Lively.
Do you plan to sue Blake Lively?
Absolutely.
You will?
Yes.
And what will you allege in that suit?
Well, we're working on it now.
Brian Friedman firing back at Lively's bombshell lawsuit, alleging she was subjected to sexually inappropriate behavior on the set of the film It Ends With Us, which Baldoni also directed.
Promise me.
In the more than 90-page federal complaint against Baldoni, his production company, and the PR team they hired, Lively says she was the target of a social media smear campaign, retaliation for speaking out about what she calls a hostile environment on set. Baldoni's lawyer denying those allegations.
Was there a coordinated smear campaign to bring down Blake Lively?
100% no. Justin Baldoni from the get-go said, I don't want to do anything negative toward her. I don't want to hurt her.
The New York Times was the first to report on a separate civil rights complaint Lively filed, which included text messages and emails between PR experts that allegedly suggest she was the target of a smear campaign. In response, Baldoni and 9 other plaintiffs are suing the paper for $250 million, alleging the article relied on Lively's self-serving narrative, contending a number of those messages were taken out of context or excluded. Among the claims being disputed, Lively's allegation that Baldoni would enter her trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. A text exchange in Baldoni's lawsuit appears to show Lively inviting Baldoni to go over lines in her trailer while pumping.
Justin Baldoni has built his brand and is known for supporting women, believing women. So why in this case should people not believe Blake Lively?
I'm not asking anyone to not believe anyone. I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there, lay them out, put them on a website for the world to see. Have them see the truth and determine the truth for themselves.
In a statement, the Times says they stand by their reporting and plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit, while a lawyer for the actress said nothing in this lawsuit changes anything about the claims in Lively's complaints.
You're denying a smear campaign, but are you acknowledging that there may have been some behavior on set that could have made some of the cast, including Blake Lively, uncomfortable?
I think there's some behavior always that can make people uncomfortable, and I don't think anybody has the intention to do that. The question really in this case is, does it rise to the level of sexual harassment?
Lively did not respond to our request for comment, but as previously said, I hope that my legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct.
Blake Lively seemingly followed Ryan Reynolds' lead, attempting to take creative control on set. She reportedly tried to change the script, alter her costumes, and disregarded the director and costume designer. According to Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, the version of the film playing in theaters isn't his original cut. Baldoni claims Blake refused to participate in the film's promotion unless her preferred version of the movie was chosen for release.
The final cut of the film, the one that landed in theaters, that's available on Netflix, the one that you can watch right now, that is not even his cut of the film. It's apparently Lively's. According to the lawsuit, Lively had threatened to withhold promoting the film if her cut was not used. So Wayfair and Sony, they agreed to test both her cut and Baldoni's cut with audiences, and under the impression that if Baldoni's cut scored higher, that's the cut that would be used. So according to the lawsuit, unsurprisingly, despite Baldoni's cut scoring significantly higher with audiences in the film's target demographic, Lively reneged on her promise. She insisted that her cut be the version released to the public, even going so far as to claim that the author of the book would also refuse to promote the film if Lively's version was not chosen. Under immense pressure, Sony and Wayfair once again conceded. So with all this going on, Baldoni says that his team retained crisis manager Melissa Nathan ahead of the film's premiere. And contrary to Lively's claims that Baldoni had hired her to smear Lively, Baldoni says Nathan was hired to protect him. According to his lawsuit, in direct response to Lively's oppressive tactics as described herein, Wayfair and Baldoni retained Nathan and TAG as a protective measure ahead of the film's premiere. Contrary to the Times portrayal, TAG's engagement focused exclusively on defensive strategy and fact verification, though, as is standard industry practice, TAG prepared for worst-case scenarios based on Lively and Reynolds' prior behavior. No aggressive tactics, example astroturfing, were ever employed. TAG maintained this defensive position throughout its engagement, verifying facts, correcting misinformation without retaliation, a strategy endorsed by Baldoni and Wayfair in an effort to reprioritize the film's significant social message.
We do have It Starts With Us, so I'm hoping to see you back in the double duty role.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin.
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Justin said it's no big game to direct the next one, but perhaps Blake would. Is that something that you would entertain?
Oh, absolutely. I think that whoever decides to take charge of the next one would do it justice. But, you know, it's a lot of people to get the same schedules together again, so we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. She's so capable of that. She is a powerhouse. She can do literally anything.
As the legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni intensifies, it's clear this high-stakes drama is far from over. Will more evidence emerge, or will the tide shift in Blake's favor? Share your thoughts on these latest developments in the comments below.